is WJZ TV, Baltimore.
In your community, where you live. Now, it's WJZ, Maryland's news station.
Attack in Alexandria.
Shots being fired, and there are people running, possibly victims involved.
A gunman opens fire on a congressional baseball practice. A congressman and several others shot.
You have a baseball bat, they have a rifle, you're defenseless.
The terrifying moments and the search for a motive.
Hello, I'm Denise Koch, and here's what people are talking about today. Breaking news, a Republican congressional baseball practice turns into a crime scene this morning in Northern Virginia after a shooter opens fire on a congressman, police officers, and staffers. Now, it happened on a baseball field at a YMCA around 7 a.m. in Alexandria. House Majority Whip Congressman Steve Scalise was among those hurt. Also injured, a congressional staffer, a lobbyist, and 2 Capitol police officers. The suspect has now died from his injuries. CBS News has obtained a picture of the suspected gunman. Police say he is 66-year-old James Hodgkinson of Illinois. Former presidential candidate Senator Bernie Sanders says Hodgkinson volunteered on his campaign. Now, we are live with extensive complete coverage. WJZ investigator Mike Halgren is on the scene in Alexandria with the latest on the massive investigation. Kimberly Eden is live on Capitol Hill in Washington with congressional reaction. And Marcus Washington has reaction from stunned witnesses. Let's begin with Mike. Mike?
Denise, that gunman, we are learning more about his background. As you said, he used to volunteer for Senator Bernie Sanders. We also just heard from congressional leaders, both Democratic and Republican, coming together after this tragedy. 5 people shot, including Representative Steve Scalise, the Republican, the majority whip in the House. He is now out of surgery and reportedly in good spirits. Here's what we know about the investigation so far. First responders carry one of the nation's most powerful congressmen, Republican Majority Whip Steve Scalise, on a stretcher from an Alexandria, Virginia ball field moments after he was shot in the hip. Representative Scalise was one of 5 shot here, including 2 Capitol officers, by a gunman identified as James Hodgkinson from Illinois.
I can tell you, for governors, our #1 responsibility is to keep our communities safe. And this is a discussion we ought to have of how we keep our communities safe. And clearly there are way too many guns on the street.
The FBI is now handling the investigation. Fellow congressmen described the chaos that erupted just after 7 o'clock this morning.
I got Steve Scalise's phone and called his wife, and I just didn't want her to wake up and hear the news and not know what was going on.
So I was standing on my front porch. We heard shots fired. I went and called 911, and as I was on the phone with 911, I saw one woman running away from the scene at top speed, obviously in a panic. And then we heard a bullet whiz down our street, and I went back inside with several more.
The gunman was well armed. Police say it's too early to talk motive or how long Hodgkinson had been planning the attack that has left Washington and America in shock.
I heard Steve Scalise scream. And I don't remember exactly what he said, but it was clear that something bad happened.
Now, while the FBI is leading this investigation, the ATF is trying to trace 2 weapons, a rifle and a handgun. And a short time ago, we heard from President Donald Trump. Here's what he had to say after the tragedy.
Melania and I are grateful for their heroism and praying for the swift recovery of all victims. Congressman Scalise is a friend, and a very good friend. He's a patriot, and he's a fighter. He will recover from this assault. And Steve, I want you to know that you have the prayers not only of the entire city behind you, but of an entire nation, and frankly, the entire world. America is praying for you, and America is praying for all of the victims of this terrible shooting.
President Donald Trump earlier today talking about this tragedy. Again, Representative Steve Scalise, one of 5 people shot. He is now out of surgery. You can see all the media here behind me in what was a chaotic situation. It is safe here now, and federal authorities are continuing to track the gunman's motives. Live in the Delray section of Alexandria, Virginia, Mike Helgren, WJZ Eyewitness News.
All right, thank you very much, Mike. And our complete coverage continues now with Kimberly Eaton. She is live on Capitol Hill with Congressional Reaction. Kimberly?
And Denise, as you can imagine, this attack has rattled many of Maryland's political leaders and others across the country, many of whom we have heard from in the last few hours. But of course, the most dramatic accounts coming from the baseball field where that attack happened. That is where Texas Representative Joe Barton described the moments the gunfire started.
There were dozens, if not hundreds, of shots fired. It was scary.
Did you take cover?
Of course we did.
Where did you take cover?
We got, some of us were in the dugout, some of us were on the ground. I was behind the dugout. My son Jack got under an SUV, and he was very brave. My other son Brad was in the batting cage, and he also was very brave.
8 miles from that scene where the shooter opened fire on GOP representatives, staffers, and their police protectors, their colleagues quickly reacting to the attack on the political main stage.
We're deeply saddened. We're all concerned for those injured. We'll keep them in our prayers, and we'll continue to send them every wish for a quick and full recovery.
And talking to WJZ over the phone Wednesday, Maryland Republican Congressman Andy Harris says he was alerted by his staff within the hour after the shooting.
I hope this wasn't an assassination attempt, but, you know, it's just unfortunate, and we hope it's an isolated incident. You know, thank goodness that it appears that no one was killed, and, you know, thank goodness for the Capitol Police officers who, you know, put themselves in the line of fire in this case.
And you just heard Mike talk about the continuing investigation into this morning's attack. But in the meantime, there is an increased police presence and tension here on Capitol Hill. Back to you.
All right, thank you very much, Kimberly. Our complete coverage continues now with Marcus Washington. He is in the newsroom. He has reaction from a witness who was working out nearby. Marcus?
Yeah, Denise, very busy in that area this morning. There is a YMCA near that baseball field where that shooting happened, and people there were forced to shelter in place. Again, this is the scene this morning in Alexandria, Virginia. Some of those shots were fired, went into the YMCA building. One witness who was trying to leave the gym described what he saw.
They were exchanging fire. I believe one of the police officers' rounds passed through the YMCA windows. 2 rounds hit the windows. One went through and landed in the pool. Another lodged between 2 panes of glass. No one shows up at a baseball field with an AK-47 accidentally.
And with all that going on, no one inside the YMCA was hurt. Denise?
All right, thank you, Marcus. So here's what you need to know about the shooting in Alexandria. House Majority Whip Steve Scalise was shot along with 5 others at a baseball field this morning. The gunman, among those shot, he later died at the hospital. He has been identified as 66-year-old James Hodgkinson from Illinois. Now, the wounded also include 2 Capitol Police officers, a congressional aide, and a lobbyist. Stay with WJZ. We'll have complete coverage of this congressional baseball practice shooting. We will continue to bring the latest developments on WJZ tonight at 4 and 5 and 6 and all day on CBSBaltimore.com.